Okay, so I'll just sort of quickly go over some of the things on the Annotate tab. Primarily detail lines, but also want to point out these other things. You have like filled regions and detail components, which you can use to add to drawings like plans, sections, elevations. So essentially detail components are collections of detail lines and regions. Yeah, so... Yeah, that's right. That detail groups do the same thing. Yeah. So I'll just show you. If you go to detail component, you can go to and start to look at the things in the detail items folder, where you will have lots of details. You probably don't need many details for this, but even break lines can be useful. Now, break lines, yeah, they are coming up as details. Sometimes they're symbols, but they're out. So if you ever need to draw a break line, and you've drawn it, that might be a good thing for you to see. So this is a break line family, and it even has the masking region, so you can use it to cover the things that you don't want to see. Except it doesn't work on grid lines, so that's a bad example, but if we put it down on a wall or something, you can cover that. Okay, so those detail families can be really good, but even detail lines are extremely useful. So here I want to show the floor above. So I've got a projecting balcony floor, and so to see it on this level, I'm just going to turn the underlay option there to level 1, and then you can see these balconies. And then, well, actually, I'll sort of give you a couple of options. So one option is to use the line work tool. So if you don't know about that one, that's a great thing you can use to change the style of any line that you see in Revit. So with that, you can also use it to hide lines. So it's got there the invisible lines option. So if you've got a line that's getting in the way, so here I've got this line that maybe, if there's something that I don't want to delete, it's for a ramp that is necessary to get to that entry for the shop, but I don't want to see the edge of it there, because it really should blend in with the rest of the ground there. So again, I can just use that line override, line work tool, to change that line style to invisible lines. And so you can also use that on things from the underlay. So you've got there the edge of my floor, so I can change it to dashed lines, so maybe dashed 0.1, and then choose these lines, and you can see there it just changes them to...
Is that all been changing in that view?
Yes, yeah, just in the view, that's right, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, so it's similar to all the things on the Annotate tab, because they're also view specific. So that's one option. But you can see then that it's taken this line all the way through to where the balcony finishes, which is behind this main wall here. And so if I put the underlay back to none, those lines will stay, but I don't really want it to be that long. So I'll undo that. So instead of trying to be too tricky and actually pick up the edge from the 3D floor, it's great if your floor moves, it's good for that, but here it's not really doing what I want, because again, I want some control over the length of that line. So instead of using the line work tool, I'll just remind you where it is in case you've never used it before. It's on the Modify tab. It's this button here. But instead of using that, I'll go back to the Annotate tab and then draw a detail line. And notice I've got the same line styles there as I did with the line work tool. So I can just draw a dashed line and trace my underlay. Yes, so underlay just lets you see things from other levels or from other views. So yeah, basically other levels. So here, this underlay settings in the view properties, and you can set that to any level. Yeah, I do have other levels. I just don't have views for them in this file. So, okay, so here if I go to the View tab, I can make a new, a new plan view. And so I'll go to Floor Plan, and then choose one of the levels that I didn't have before. So where underlay is a little bit confusing, because underlay, it does work with levels, but it also needs to have the plan view set up so you can choose it.
So that's not so you can show it on the plan, it's just that you would go online to show that there's...
Yeah, but it will show in the plan. So here now I've got level 2A. So if I choose that in this view, well that one actually, so that's the same level, so that doesn't make sense. So let's go back to ground floor, and then I'll set it there to level 2A. So now it's showing this higher level balcony and the other things that are on that level. So it comes in. Sorry? Yes, it comes in greyed out. Yeah, yeah. So that's a really useful tool. But no. So once you're done with it, put it back to none, and that then hides it. Yeah. So now because I've traced it with a detail line, it keeps the dashed line there. So that's it. So you can use that tool if you're creative and think about it. You can use that to really transform the way your plans look, just by drawing like you do in AutoCAD in 2D over your plans. And that way, it saves you a lot of 3D modelling. You don't always need to model everything. That's right, exactly, all those little things. Yeah, that's right. And sometimes even, that's a good example, because you might just have an opening, and in 3D, that's good enough. But then in plan, you may need to see all the other hardware, the door swing and everything else, and you can just draw that instead of going and fiddling around, setting up a family adjustable and doing a lot of work. That's not necessary, it's only a one-off. So that's it. Just let me know if there's anything else you can think of with Revit that you want me to go over. Yeah, sure.
One showed us how to change a component that we just built, like an extrusion, into a family after you've already built it.
Yes. Oh, yeah, good example. Yeah, good. Okay, sure. Okay. So, I'll do that right now. That's a good example. So, I've got here how to change something that you've modelled using model in place into a separate family file. Yeah, that's a really good example. So, okay, so if you know Newtown, this is the little art display up in Newtown Square that I've modelled. Right, so I've only done a very simple version of it, but you might remember what it looks like. That's the seat and then the cylinder, and then I've got to do the top, but that's at least, got the basic shape of it. So, okay, so I've used model in place to make it. So I'm going to go to edit in place, and then select the things that I want to put into their own file. So maybe actually the bollards might have been even a better example, because they work really well if they're in their own file. But I'll do this one, just because that's what I started with. So, okay, so I've selected the two things with control, and I'm going to click copy to clipboard. Then I'll finish it just so that it's done, and then if I go back and on the file menu, go to make a new family. And I'll use metric generic model as the template. And then simply on the modify tab, go to paste. Click to place, and it's come in that this message is telling me that it's not visible in this view. So that's okay, it's just a warning to tell me what's happening. I'll go to the 3D view, and then you can see it has come in. So the reason we can't see it in the plan is probably because it's either too high or too low. It's probably too high. There we are. So in the elevation you can see straight away, and I can just bring that down and line it up with the ground. And then back in the plan view, I'll check to see if it's centered. So I'll just do that roughly, and that's good enough. So there we are. And okay, so now to use that, really important that I save it with a name. So I'll save as and give it a new name. And then load into project, and I can bring it back in, place it anywhere in this file. Yep, that's it. Yep. So yeah, so when you see, sometimes it'll give you this message that says you can't copy and paste between a project and a family. That's what it says. Don't believe it, it's wrong. Sometimes you can't, but it's usually because you're at the wrong level. So if I try to copy this, if I try to copy, say that, without going to edit in place, if I just go copy to clipboard and then try to paste that whole thing into a family, it won't work.
So it's because you select the individual elements.
Exactly, that's right. Because you can obviously work with an extrusion in the generic model family. So if you copy and paste the extrusion, it should be fine. Yeah. So that's the key to it. And yeah, so don't believe it when it tells you you can't do it, just keep pushing and usually you can. So yeah, that's a really good example. I do that all the time because I often want to start making something in a project, but then later on have it as a separate family. And that's really good. Yeah. Sweeps, yeah, sure. Sweeps, yeah, no problem. Yeah, okay, sure. So, yeah, so I'll do a sweep around the edge of something just so it's clear. Yeah, so I'll do a sweep around here. Maybe I'll do like a bit of a funny ramp or something. Well, in fact, no, I'll just do an edge so that you get the idea. So I'll do like a toe, what do you call them, overhang that they have on steps. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is part of the trend, pretty much. Yeah, right. So that's it. So I'll go back to. I'll just do it with model in place. Okay, so to do a sweep, model in place, and again I'll just use. In fact, I'll use floors because that's what the other one is. So in fact, what I should be doing is editing this one because that's already a floor. So I'll go to edit in place, and I'll add to it using a sweep. So firstly, I want to know where I'm modelling, what plane has been set. I know, because I haven't said anything, it's probably the ground plane, the one called ground floor, or that started off as ground floor. But just to be sure, I'm going to go to set. Right, and you can see there, it's picking up ground level. So that was the one called ground floor, but I've renamed it to ground level. But so I know where I'm working, I'm going to pick a plane, okay, and I'll choose the top of that floor. So you don't always have to do that because when you're working with a sweep, you generally, well often anyway, you'll be drawing in a plane that's parallel with the ground. So you don't always have to choose a plane, you can just use the ground floor plane usually, or the plane that it begins with. But here again, it doesn't hurt to see the plane, and I've got the show option there on so that you can see the plane. And that's a nice thing to try when you're not sure which plane has been set, just use that to find out. But I'll turn it off again now that I know, and then go and make my sweep. So the key with a sweep is realising that you need to make a path first, then you make the profile. And to make a sweep, you need those two things. A path, again, that you have to make first with Revit. It's just a Revit thing. Path always first, and then the profile gets swept along that path. So I'll start with the path, sketch path. And to save me drawing all the lines, I'm just going to use pick lines and pick the edge of the floor that I already have. And I'll turn thin lines off so you can all see my very basic path there. It's just a U shape that follows around the floor, and I'll go to the floor level plan so that you can see it there as well. And the one I always think about with this is, you might be too young to remember, but you might remember the Alcan trucks that used to go around extruding gutters. You probably don't even remember Alcan. That's how old I am. Some of us might remember. Yeah. Yeah, that's right, that's it, exactly, yeah. It was all, I think it was into the 80s that they were going. Yeah, well, aluminium. So Caprel is the new name for Alcan. Caprel was part of another company and they bought Alcan and gave it that whole... I mean, Alcan was a much better name than Caprel. Who knows what Caprel means? I've got no idea. I know that it's aluminium, but anyhow, that's just the new name. So Alcan was what Caprel was, and they used to have these trucks that went around with an extruding machine to make gutters. And so you could make that profile follow any path. And that was a sweep. So, I'm trying to think of a better example. But anyway, that's the one I think of. So looking at this in 3D, we can see that it's got the path, which is just the 3 lines, and then the plane is the other thing you need to be aware of. So the plane gets set for you. So where do you think the plane has been set? Why do you think it's there? Exactly, it's always perpendicular to the path. So that's the most important thing actually. And then also what you need to know is that it goes onto the first line that you make. So you can move it. If you want to change it to another place, you can. So I can drag it there, you can see, and put it onto any of those segments. Sometimes it takes a bit of fiddling to get it where you want, but it will go anywhere on the segments. So I'll put it back to where it started. Well, actually, that's at the beginning of the line, but we can move it then to the middle. I just click and drag it. Yeah. So while you're editing the path, you can drag that plane. No, it's just easier to see. Yeah. So you see it as a plane in 3D, whereas in plan, you just see it as a line. Yeah. Exactly. So as long as you know that it's a plane and you know where it is, then you can draw your profile. So I'm going to finish that, and then to draw the profile, well, you've got two choices. You can actually use a profile that's been loaded. So I might just choose one of these, and you can see it's come up. So that's a profile, sorry, that's been loaded from another family. And it's nice that it shows them to you, so you can see if they're what you want. And this might be actually something. Okay, so so that's really useful. And so if you're doing a lot of similar sweeps, it's an idea to make a profile in a separate file. Yeah. 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 Yes, possibly, yeah. So you need to make it with the metric profile. So here if we go and make a new family, you've got this one called metric profile. Not that one, so metric profile. And just make sure it's a closed shape. Yeah, it has to be closed. So one segment that goes all the way there, continuous segment, that connects to the beginning. Okay, so that's if you've got one that you want to use that's been loaded, but I don't. I want to change it to, I want to draw it. So here you can go to By Sketch, and then you get that option to edit the profile. So then you can draw it on the fly as you work with this sweep. So here I'm just going to draw something that goes maybe across. Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, no problem. Yeah. So now, if it was just a rectangle, there's no need for it to be a sweep, but I want to put a curve on the end, and that's something that you can only do with a sweep. So this, I think it's got a little gap, so I'll just fill that in.
How did you change that to in a line?
Oh, just this button up here. Turns the line mates on and off. Yeah.
I did not. Do you know how many times I've modelled in like that big chunky one, like
yeah, that's really useful. But the other good trick there, if you find that you're doing that all the time, think about changing the scale of your view.
Yeah, right.
Because the scale will lighten the line. So if this is a view that I don't need to print, I could just set it to 1 to 10. And that gives us much lighter lines. Because sometimes you still want a bit of thickness, so you don't want to always have to go to thin lines. Yep. Okay, so if I finish this now, that just finishes the profile. So I'll finish it again, and now you can see it's swept that curved shape all the way around my little plinth there. Yeah. So that's it. They're normally pretty straightforward, except but drawing the profile can be tricky, and then sometimes also certain paths won't work because some profiles and some paths don't work together. Oh yes, definitely. You can do the profile. It depends, but yeah, you can do it all in one in the project. Yeah, absolutely. So that's it. So I'm going to. I don't know. Is there anything else that you can think of with Revit? Yes, yeah, it's been recorded. I'll just call it Revit extras. Maybe. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Multi-day? Is it multi-day solar studies or just single day? Oh, the sun path. No? Yeah, right. Oh, solar analysis, not shadows. Ah.
It can be one on one.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up myself. I know Revit may be able to do that, but for things like that, I normally use other software.
It was the one you were telling me about when I was talking about wanting to know how much I get so I can evaluate if I can cover the side of the solar panel.
Ah, right, yes. So, okay, so what's the program? I've got a program that does that. I'm just going to remember what it's called. I think it's called... No. Oh, I know the one. Sorry, there is one. I'll have to go back. Yeah, I'll have to research it, but I have done it. Yeah, just have to look it up. Yeah, Format can do it, but then but Revit can as well. Sorry. So yeah, I'm just thinking with Revit, it's what is it again? I'm so rusty. I'll have to look it up. But then there is another program just for lighting studies. But then it's a whole other program. So anyway, if I can dig it out, I'll show you. It's a free program, but it's a bit technical. But there is one I know that does. So no, it's in 2020. So not in 2019. That's what the problem is. Yeah, you need to be using 2020. That's right. It's on the Analyze tab, and you do have. Oh no, sorry, they've got it here. Yeah. Okay. So no, so you can do it with. I think maybe possibly you can do it with 2019, but I've done it with 2020. And so it's one of these things. It's under. Yeah. So I just can't see the option. No, maybe it is in 2020. So there's a thing in Revit, but you might just save a temporary copy in 2020 because you can't go back. Once you save it in 2020, you try and go back and work on it in 2019. So you won't be able to use it on the computers in here, which means getting to Lumion and all that's going to be hard. Yeah, must do in 2020 though. That did it because I don't see the option that I use. Yeah. But I'll show you. I've got it somewhere. Yeah. So, is there anything else you can think of with Revit? Sorry? Yes. Particularly 3D trees. Yeah, avoid them like the plague. They're terrible. Yeah, so you've got two choices. You can either do these sorts of trees. So these trees are just spheres. So they're from the standard, the metric library. So yeah, so just called 3D tree round. You'll see it's definitely in the one on the P drive, but I think even in the default library it's got them. Not much, no. So yeah. So the RPC trees don't slow down much either. But they're like the photoreal, they're photographs of trees. Yeah. They're okay. So they work, but then for your rendering, if you have a lot of planting, I highly suggest using Lumion. So maybe that's what we could switch over to and look at, because I think a lot of people want to do planted walls or green walls. So I know lots of people were looking at that. So maybe I'll switch over to Lumion and show you that. And then we can look at a few things there as well. Yes, sure. Yes, sir. No, okay, so with us, so we've got a preliminary submission in week 15. Yeah. No, well, we're going to start doing some assessment, but not the final grade. Yeah, we want to see a fairly complete presentation. Yeah. So we've kept it in week 15 so that we've got time to give you feedback before week 17. We're debating whether maybe we can move it to week 16. Oh, what, you're presenting week 16 now?
We're presenting the 11th. The 11th, yeah.
11th, right. The 11th of November must be. Yeah, Armistice Day. Yeah. Okay, so wow. Okay, that's early. So we have to do it week 15. Okay, so okay. Well, that solves it. Yeah. Yes, yeah. So we'll just have to give you feedback on the day. That's it. And so it's just a chance to, and also be forced to have the presentation, the design complete. So then you can just spend the last bit of time you've got finalising the presentation. So yeah.
I was just going to say, go through how we should format to publish the workshop. Or is that
Oh,
We just have to touch
yeah.
it
Well, it's
ourselves.
okay. So for modelling, is it laser cutting?
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll be a 2D drawing that you can take from Revit, but then you probably need to tidy up in AutoCAD.
Okay, and that's pretty much it. And then see the size of the board you have,
Yes.
and then if you've got extra room for stairs.
Exactly. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
pretty much what we have to do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for the prelim,
Yep.
are we presenting with the sound that we will be using for the final?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So
Definitely.
it'll be in the theatre.
Oh yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. So just asking if you're going to be presenting over in the A block in the conference room or the what is it, exhibition room? So
No,
the
this is the prelim for week 15. So we'll be presenting it
yeah.
in situ.
Yeah, where you be doing your final presentation in week 16.
And that's the exhibition space, right?
Yes, the exhibition. Yeah, 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 yeah. So that's in 2 weeks. Wow. Yeah, maybe we should. Yeah. Okay. So we'll organise. We'll confirm that next week. Yeah, we'll start a bit early. Just to try what you're going to be doing the following week. No, digital, all digital. Yeah, yeah.